Are you tired of self-doubt holding you back? Have you ever wished you could have the confidence to face your fears, go after your wildest dreams, and the tools necessary to live your best life? Hey there, amazing listeners. I'm your host and author of How to Grasp Confidence and Own Your Power. And I've made it my mission to help you break free from self-doubt and embrace confidence. Subscribe now and join us as we unlock the secrets to unshakable self-assurance. Let's dive in. Season 2 of Grasp Confidence podcast is off again to a powerful start. My guest today is Philip Sessions. Now, Philip is unique. He is a professional public speaker, but he's also a public speaking coach. So he helps people who want to get into public speaking, and he helps them show up as the best version of themselves. This is so important because public speaking and confidence are directly related. And a lot of people, maybe they want to share their message, want their voice to be heard, want their story to be told, want their advice to be shared on stage, but just don't have the confidence to do it. So I thought I'd bring Philip on the show today. Philip, welcome. Introduce yourself, my friend.
Hey, Tara. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate you having me on this podcast. So a little bit about me, a Christian, a father of two beautiful little girls at 2 weeks and 2 years old. So craziness right now going on in
2 weeks.
Yeah, pretty recent on that. And then been married for about 5 years now. Been doing public speaking coaching officially for just a little over 2 years, but unofficially, so no LLC, stuff like that, for about 3 years. And yes, like you mentioned, a lot of speakers want to speak on a topic, but I love to speak about speaking and help other people get better with speaking. And so I really help out with presentation prep, pitch prep, really any kind of communication that you're going to do within your business, for your business, inside it, outside of it, whatever. That's what I can help with. And so that's what I specifically help with.
Well, congratulations, because the last time we talked, I was a guest on your podcast and the baby had not come yet. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. But you don't have bags under your eyes. I'm wondering.
Not yet. There for sure. I'll have to draw them in for you or something.
Oh gosh, I remember those days, right?
Yeah, I remember them too with the first one, and here this time around.
I love that. Well, Philip, when we talked on your show, I wasn't sure if you were surprised or not when I told you that I used to have a tremendous fear of public speaking, and now it's something that I seek out. It's the biggest fear for people, I think the statistic is that people are, 75%, first of all, of the world is terrified of public speaking, but they're more afraid of public speaking than death itself, which is crazy to me, that people are more afraid to go on stage than they are to die. This is something that we really need to talk about because honestly, the world opens up to you when you do share your story, when you do share your voice and step on stage. So many opportunities open up to you, but people are terrified to do it, Philip. They're terrified, part of it, because they lack confidence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is your experience with that? Were you ever afraid of public speaking?
Yeah, actually, back in third grade, it's probably the most memorable memory of my shyness and lack of speaking ability was I had missed a day of school in third grade. Come back the next day, and as a little nerd I asked the teacher, "Hey, what did I miss?" She turns to me, looks me straight in the face, and says, "Oh, you missed class yesterday? I didn't know." And here I am in third grade, and because I was so shy, so quiet, so reserved, the teacher that should have recognized I wasn't there one day. Didn't even recognize I wasn't there. I was that much of a fly on the wall. And you may be looking at me now like, well, Philip, you look so confident. You look so comfortable. And that took years to make that transition. And really the catalyst for me was when I was working at this oil and gas company, and in a previous oil and gas company to that as well, where I had just been getting put down. I have a degree in electrical engineering, which that's a whole nother topic to talk about how you're an engineer, but you speak and all this stuff. But I was coined as a young, dumb engineer, and I kept getting put down. And then I went to this second job, and when I was there, I was getting put down again. But yet I was doing a majority of the work out of all the other engineers in the department. And yet my manager would tell me, well, why aren't you working more hours? If you feel like you don't have enough time, why don't you do more? And then this, that, and the other. And I finally just got tired of being put down. And what I realized what it was the fact that I wouldn't even just stand up for myself. Not even what we think of public speaking, of speaking in front of thousands of people on stage. I didn't even have a voice to stand up for myself. And I was tired of feeling belittled, being put down. And so I vowed to myself that I was going to figure out how to be able to speak up for myself. And really, that was the catalyst for me to start building up that confidence.
Wow. Such a powerful set of stories. And I really resonate with that. And I think a lot of people will as well. I remember what it was like to be surprised that people remembered me.
Mm.
And when I would run into people that I hadn't seen in a long time, I was surprised that they remembered me. That's how little I felt of myself at one point in time. And that perception of I don't matter enough for people to remember me was really weighed heavily on me for a long time. And it impacted my confidence. And I remember not standing up for myself. I remember being bullied at work, just like what you're saying, and not standing up for myself because I didn't have the confidence to do it. At one point in time, I couldn't stand up and even talk on a Zoom call, let alone an in-person meeting, right? So these things kind of compound over time. And, for you, it began in the third grade. You were the fly on the wall. Your teacher didn't even notice you weren't there. That must have taken a big hit on your self-esteem.
Yeah, I mean, I got passed up for so many things, having more friends, being popular with the girls in school, being the leader within my friend group, and really just the people in my class and everything. There were so many things that I got passed up for because I lacked that confidence, because of the lack of awareness of the power that I have behind myself, who I am, and what I can bring to the table. I felt like I wasn't good enough. And it really did kind of start from there. And that teacher didn't mean it that way, of course. But because of hearing that and because of seeing how people didn't really pay attention to me and stuff, it really just made me feel like I was less than. And that translated into monetary things when it came to getting into my first job. I didn't know how to negotiate for myself. I didn't know how to stand up for myself. And luckily, I had some mentors along the way that kind of helped me to be able to talk through things that, hey, make sure that you go and ask for this because, they need you and all that stuff. And they really started speaking into me, but it still took time for me to have that self-belief in myself, which really goes into the power of speaking. And whether it be on stage or be one-on-one, the words and the care that you have behind those words, the emotion behind those words can create such a lasting impact, both in a bad way, but also in a good way, to change somebody's life forever. And that's really why I enjoy doing the coaching that I do now, because I saw how speaking has changed my life. Both people have spoken into me, but then also me getting better at speaking. And I want to be able to help transform people's lives like that, to go from unconfident, shy to confident and bold, and being able to lead people and teams and step up on that stage, whether it's one person or 1,000 people in front of you, and be able to speak with boldness and truth and authenticity.
I love that. There's such a power to that. And with public speaking, the power is not all residing within ourselves. The great thing about it is there's a transference of that energy. So your audience feels it. You feel it. You're impacted by it. Your audience feels it and embraces it. And all of a sudden, you're transferring that energy, that power to them, that confidence to them as well. And that's how we become a unified group, right? With this public speaking, it really does build and bolster your influence as well. And it's a very influential thing, right? When we look at somebody on stage, they're confident, they're poised, they know what they're talking about, they're a professional. They're seen as an influential person, somebody that should be paid attention to, right? Somebody that is confident, competent, and worthy of recognition. So it's not just about, going on stage, sharing your message, sharing your story, being confident. All of that is true, but it's also about the leverage that comes with it, right? Because we can gain a lot of authority and influence by being the one on stage, can't we?
Yes, very much so. And you automatically have the authority by being on stage. So yes, the more we can get in front of people, be speaking in front of them, the more authority we have. I've even had some people ask me about trainings that I've done. They're like, well, how did you become this person that was the expert? And it really came down to me just talking to the right people and being put on that stage. I'm not saying I'm the very best speaking coach out there or anything. Like, there's plenty of people that can teach you. There's plenty of sources to get the right coach for you. But I mean, I know I can help you. But why I got to where I'm at to be able to speak on stage, and same for you, Tara, is because you were willing to put yourself out there. And by doing that and getting on that stage, that gave you the authority that you needed to influence the people that you're speaking to.
Yes, it's huge, right? And it's so important. I primarily work with people that are going to speak on TEDx or TED. But I've seen it, with them as well. Maybe they're a subject matter expert and authority in their field, but they lack the confidence to really go on stage sometimes. Maybe they're a subject matter expert who's never really spoken to a large group of people. And maybe they're influential in their own circle, but then stepping on stage is a different game altogether. So there's a mindset shift as well that needs to happen for you to step on stage. And one of the biggest things that I've realized is that we need to get out of our own heads sometimes and focus on, instead of thinking about all the things that can go wrong, we need to focus on the impact we create with our message, right? There's a difference between being a subject matter expert and being somebody who's influential, who's seen as an authority, who's seen as an expert, who's seen as a leader. And it's part of that is a mindset shift that focuses on not necessarily self, but the impact you can create and spread with your message. What do you think about that?
I completely agree with you. Though, when we focus on ourselves, I like to relate this with commission breath. When it comes to speaking on stage, if I'm focused on me, what am I going to get out of this speech? Who is going to come buy my product or service when we get done, because I'm just so great and I'm just a gift to this audience. They should be lucky that they're here. It's just like in sales, when you got that sleazy car salesman that has that commission breath. They don't care what thing you buy. They just want you buying something. It doesn't even have to be good for you. You could have a family of 5 and they want to put you in a Mustang GT because that gives them the most commission. And so when you're thinking about you, it's exactly the same way.
So key, so key. It's important to get out of our own heads because it can be an intimidating process, right? To, step on stage, especially if it's your first time. But I have found that it is absolutely transformative. The first time I stepped on stage, I was a nervous wreck. Before I went on stage, I cried in the bathroom a couple of times. I just needed to get that energy out, right? But as soon as I stepped on stage, I it was like a switch. And I flipped the switch and I focused on the impact I could create with my message. I focused on that transferring of knowledge. I focused on impacting lives. And when you take yourself out of that equation and you focus it back on that audience, and you remember it's not about you, it's about them. And how many ways and things can we apply that to in life? Like you said, it applies in sales, it applies in business, it applies to speaking on stage. If we take ourselves out of the equation and focus instead on us, and we focus on our audience, them, the impact is going to be so much larger. And honestly, if we focus on the impact, sales come, don't they?
Yes, yes. And just to kind of give that analogy again, when somebody's starting to DM you in LinkedIn, especially, we know that's a terrible place. But when somebody's like, "Hey, nice to connect," da, 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 you're just waiting for them to pitch you. And it's the same thing when you're on that stage. You have this feeling. They haven't even pitched you yet, but you just have that feeling that person's just going to pitch you. And so when you're focused on yourself, even if it may not sound like it, you may be saying kind of the right things, sounds like you're trying to pour into the audience and be the right person. People can just get that feeling. And so, yes, we totally need to focus on our audience, because the more we focus on them, the more they're going to want to come back and work with us. The way that people feel is so much more important than anything that we can share with them. Because at the end of the day, unfortunately, when it comes to speaking, most people don't remember what it is that we said, but they do remember how you make them feel. So as you're sharing your message, make sure you're creating emotion, because that emotion you create, hopefully more of a positive emotion or something that makes them want to go take action today, will transform them and make them think about you, because they remember, man, I felt really good when Tara was up there speaking. I really need to talk with Tara. I remember she helps out with speaking and stuff like that. And I just felt really good with her. And I want to go talk with her and make sure like what she does is actually something I need. But if Tara sat there and was very salesy on stage, it'd be like, oh man, I felt like I need to go take a bath after. And now they remember that. So they remember you, but it's not in a good way. And they'll start telling everybody like, oh, don't go to Tara. All she cares about is herself. Oh, don't go to Tara. All she cares about. And it's not true. But if she was to be that way, that's what people would think. And so same thing for you. If you are just focused on you and what you're going to get, you might get a sale or two. You might get a couple of people that are interested in hearing from you. But after a while, you're going to stop getting invited to stages. Your business is going to start to deteriorate, and you're going to have to go on to another product or service, and then until you ruin that market for yourself as well.
Yeah.
So focus on the audience.
Focus on the audience always, right? And
Yes.
it's with every part of speaking. It's not just what we say on stage. It's also our copywriting that we use. Is it audience centric, right? It's on our website. It's with our content. If it's about them, they will always resonate with it. If we make it about you, it's a shot in the dark, right?
Yeah.
So that is so important. But let's go back to this confidence aspect of it, because I think it is so important. Again, this is a goal for a lot of people. You wouldn't believe it, Philip. I've seen people get accepted on stage and then say, I can't do it. I can't do it. Same thing with TEDx. I've seen people get accepted into TEDx, go through all those months of preparation, not be able to step on stage. Or they step on stage and they're not ready. Imposter syndrome gets the best out of us, doesn't it?
Yes.
So what on earth are we supposed to do to combat this imposter syndrome? Because it happens to everybody. And it doesn't matter if you're professional, you have years of expertise in your specific field. We all get imposter syndrome. And when it comes to stepping on stage, that's like the worst time for it to happen. Do you have any suggestions, anything that people could take away with them that can help them overcome that?
If you are invited onto a stage, you are worthy of being there. You are meant to be there, because you don't just get invited on a stage unless you pay to be on that stage, unless if you are meant to be there, if you have a message worth sharing. And the event host believed in you enough. So the least you can do is at least perform for that event host. And guess what? They picked you because you had a unique message they knew for their audience would be beneficial. And so I would say, rather than focusing on the hundreds or thousands of people, or even 10 people that are in front of you, focus on one person. Just like a good marketer or business that markets themselves, they focus in on a very niche, a very specific type of individual that they're going to do business with. And it's the same thing for you with your speaking. Focus in on just one person, because at the end of the day, if you impact one person, you never know what kind of change that they can make in this world. Think about Martin Luther King and all the change that he made here in the United States for the African Americans. Who was it that influenced him to become the man that he was? Maybe he was self-made. I don't know that, but I bet there was somebody in his life that influenced him to be that way, that breathed confidence into him and boldness to stand up for that community of people. And so maybe your message is that message that's going to impact that one person that will go on to change this life, change this world for the better. And you may never be that person that goes out there and impacts millions of people, but you can be the catalyst for that one person that ends up doing that. So again, focus in on one person and realize that you are worthy to be on that stage because you were asked, you were invited to go speak on that stage. And of course, get rid of yourself. We've been talking about that, but forget about you. It's not about you. It's about your audience. And so the less ego you can have involved, the better you're going to do.
Now, going back to confidence, Philip, we talked about imposter syndrome. We talked about getting the confidence to step on stage. It's not easy. Sometimes it's easier said than done. But what I have found is a big reliever for imposter syndrome and a lack of confidence is massive amounts of action. Guess what? You practice, you refine, you fine tune, you do it enough and you put enough reps in, all of a sudden you feel more competent. All of a sudden you feel more relaxed. All of a sudden you feel more prepared. Now, practice is something that I'm pretty passionate about because for my TEDx talk, I practiced probably 150, 175 times for it because it's a memorized speech, but you don't want it to seem memorized. So you have to practice so much that you know it like the back of your hand, right? Mm-hmm. This is pretty important, and it's important for anybody, regardless if you're a TEDx speaker or a keynote speaker or workshop facilitator. You have to be able to practice and take this seriously. That is something that I'm pretty passionate about because this is a profession. This is not something that, I think a lot of people get into public speaking in general because they think it's just a money-making machine, and it can be. But honestly, it's not for everyone. It's not for the people who don't take it seriously. It's not for people who don't practice and rehearse and get a coach. It's not for everyone, right? So with practice, we can obviously, fine-tune our skills and hone in our skills. But do you have any advice on the action component that I'm so passionate about that I feel like needs to be transferred to other people? Because again, there's a lot of people out there that say they're professional speakers, but you look at the presentations, it's anything but, and most of it's practice. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so something that you could do as far as practice, rather than trying to have a whole speech written out, get on these things called a phone. You've got social media, do a video. It can be a selfie video. Continue to do this day in and day out. You will start to gain confidence in yourself. You'll start to get better and more comfortable just speaking in general. And it could be about like what I ate for lunch today, how life's going, a life update. It can be about anything to start, but as you get comfortable with that, then actually start talking about a specific topic that you want to talk on. I would say that would be the thing that you should do in order to get that practice before you start trying to do, let's say, a 15 to 18-minute speech like a TEDx or a TED Talk would be, that length there. So do that. Another thing would be start a podcast. Doing solo episodes. Doing guest episodes is great, but you don't get a lot of practice of you actually speaking for a longer period of time. So also do solo episodes and pick a subject you want to talk about, something you're passionate about. So let's go with speaking on stage. Okay, what are 3 things that I can talk about that could help you with speaking on stage? And then I'm going to talk about those 3 things. And it may be 5 to 10 minutes. Maybe I get so detailed and really get into it, and it's a 30-minute speech all of a sudden. But the more repetition you get, the better you're going to get. Something else I want to mention real quick to help you build that confidence when you're getting ready to get on stage, you're preparing, is knowing the end goal. Where are you trying to go with that message? Much like our GPS, if we plug nothing into the GPS, it's not able to let us know, are we on the right route or not? Are we going in the right direction or not? But when you do have a destination plugged in and you get off the route that you're supposed to be on, it'll reroute you back onto the route that you're supposed to be on to get you to your destination the fastest way, the most fuel efficient way, whatever setting you decide to use. And so it's the same thing with your message. You need to know what in the world you're going to talk about, have clarity on that. And through having that clarity and knowing the direction that you're trying to go and your end goal with your message will breed that confidence for you and will help you with not being as nervous either, because now you know what you're going to talk about. And hopefully then you can go practice that because now you know. I think most speakers, they get up there and wing it. They're like, oh, I've got an idea what I'm going to talk about. I'm just going to figure it out. And they never actually practice it. And that's the thing. But even if you do practice it and you stumble, by knowing your destination, where you're trying to go, what you want to cover, that'll help you get through maybe that bump in the speech as you're going along.
Such good advice. And you know what? Podcasting was a huge catalyst for me to step on stage. While it's not the same thing, I'm behind a mic, I'm seated, right? I'm not standing, I'm not in front of everybody. It prepared me for longer and shorter presentations because ultimately I never 100% know where a conversation could go at any point in time. What I've found is it keeps your tool set very sharp, right? Same thing with a short form video like you described. Having a short form video and being able to condense and can bring a message to, conciseness and distilledness is really essential, but it also helps, prepare you for when you do step on stage. So all of these different tools that you're describing, I think are great. And you know what? It's never been easier to learn. It's never been easier to navigate this. It's never been easier to practice because we do have mobile phones and we're so close to technology at any point in time. This is so key, right? So we've gone over a lot of information today. Ultimately, to step on stage, if that's a goal for you, know that it's possible. Know that confidence is possible. Know that delivering an impactful presentation is possible. All of these things are absolutely possible with enough action, with enough practice, with enough, growing of your knowledge in this field and with what you want to speak on and do, with enough connectivity and building your network of people who want to hire you for speeches, who want to work with you as a coach. All of these different things are absolutely possible, and we can each overcome our fear, if it is a fear, of public speaking with confidence by doing these simple steps. And honestly, it doesn't take that long. It doesn't have to be, the bridge to success does not have to take 10 years. This can be a couple of months or a year to really go from I'm terrified to boom, I'm a professional speaker, if that is your goal. Or just delivering an impactful presentation to a group of investors or board members, or an impactful meeting presentation to your company. Whatever it may be, public speaking is absolutely a road to success because it's a road to influence and authority. Love that. Love that. Philip, any final last words of wisdom you have for us today?
Well, we kind of mentioned it already, but just go take action. Do that video. I promise you, you will not regret it. But you just got to get started. We all stink at the beginning, but
Yeah.
through you will become great.
Yes. Yes, you will become great. And I think we all have that potential within us. One of my favorite quotes is from The Science of Getting Rich. And in that book, it says, if you have the desire, the ability is already within you. So I want everyone to walk away with that today. If you have the desire to do something, remember that the ability is within you, and through action, it can be an actual tangible goal that you can hold in your hands. I love this. Philip, thank you so much for joining us today. And to everybody who's listening right now, don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. Don't forget to leave a review. Your reviews make all the difference in helping bring new viewers to this show. So don't forget to leave a review. Don't forget to tell your friends and your family about this. I'm very passionate about this podcast because I know how impactful it is at building confidence within every person that listens to it. This is a personal development podcast, unlike anything else, because we cover a variety of topics centered around the one powerful thing, which is confidence and self-belief. So thank you so much for everybody who tuned in today. And thank you so much, Philip, for being a valued guest. And we will catch you on the next episode. Take care. And that's a wrap for this episode of Grasp Confidence. Thank you for joining me today and investing in yourself. Remember, building confidence is an ongoing journey, and each step you take brings you closer to the empowered, fearless version of yourself that you were born to be. Don't forget to visit my website, follow me on social media, and purchase my book, which is available on Amazon. Thank you for listening. We will see you on the next episode. Stay confident.